yeah, embracing slowness and practicing slowness and feeling like it just allows you to feel everything, the good, the bad, the hard. The biggest thing I've learned from becoming a mother is really truly who I am. And so practicing embracing that, because it's hard. It's freeing, but it's a struggle at times too. So being able to slow down, show myself grace, all of these things, like playing too, like being able to play with my daughter, everything that I get to experience more fully when I slow down and really pay attention and just have a little more awareness to everything.
Welcome to the Well-Nourished Mother podcast. This is a show for women who desire a deeper, more mindful and meaningful pregnancy, birth, and motherhood experience. In this space, we bring so much reverence to the rite of passage that is the maiden to mother journey. I'm your host, Lauren Fortuna Flock, founder of Nest and Nourish. I'm an ex-nurse turned birth worker, holistic nutritionist, and somatic coaching student with a fiery passion for birth prep and motherhood prep that blends the head and the heart. Join me for inspiring conversations with experts, mothers, and all-around badass wise women, exploring all the ways we can nourish ourselves, body, mind, and heart in pregnancy, birth, and motherhood. This space will help you cultivate the knowledge, practices, and resources you need to be the most embodied, vibrant, authentic, intuitive, and well-nourished mother you deserve to be. So welcome. Let's do this. Today, I'm talking with my friend, Rachel Vangstad. We met through the online doula program / business mentorship that I completed last year. I'll throw a link in the show notes if you'd like to check it out. It was amazing. But it's been really neat to watch from afar on social media to see what Rachel has been up to. I love what she shares. She has beautiful insights and simple practices to help you really connect with yourself. Just really foundational stuff. So today we're talking about slowing down and motherhood and what that looks like, why it matters, and how to take simple, small steps to do this. So keep listening for our chat. We're talking intuition, mom guilt, cyclical living, saying no, and even chat a little bit about how to apply slowness to building a heart-led business as a mother. Just a little heads up, I try to keep editing to a minimum, as you know, but we definitely had some connection issues during our call with some freezing up. And while we tried to kind of start over and restate whatever was freezing up, some little pieces of our conversation just didn't make it in the recording. Rest in peace. So you're going to hear a few spots where the audio gets a little funny, or if you notice that the conversation itself feels a little choppy in some spots, that's because I had to totally remove some of what Rachel said that was inaudible and had to try to piece together the conversation in a way that still made sense. Really a podcaster's worst nightmare, but I made it work. So forgive us, technology was not our friend, but I did the absolute best I could to still make this a beautiful conversation to listen to and gain insight from. And the content is great, so just do your best, give us grace with the little bit of funny audio you might notice in this one. Okay. So a little bit about our guest. Rachel is a mother turned doula turned intuitive guide for women who are on the path to connecting to their bodies, their self-worth, and their fire within. She recognizes women, especially mothers, want to experience pleasure and ease in life and offers simple, actionable plans to find this in their own journey home to themselves. She offers safe containers and energy work to embody one's truest self. All right, let's get into it. So, Rachel, can you tell us a bit about who you are, the work that you do, and what lights you up?
Yes, I love this. A little bit about me. Well, first, I'm a mother. This is my biggest and maybe even only title. I have trouble with titles. So biggest thing is that I'm a mother. It's also the best title that I've ever been given. But yeah, that being said, I guess titles in the past and actually what I do right now as well is I'm a coach. I coach CrossFit and I've been doing that for over 10 years now. And I've been transitioning into just serving women in general. So I started a business a few years ago and it started as a doula business. And it is transitioning currently into more broadly just serving women where they're at within transition from maiden to mother, maybe into growing their family even bigger. But really, my focus is just serving women and being a place where they can discover themselves. So that is also 100% what lights me up. I have always been in service, whether it's like a barista or a bartender or a server, like a waiting tables. And then coaching, obviously, is a big act of service, helping people in the fitness world. And that has been the biggest joy, is being able to show up for others. And so being able to transition and narrow that down to women and serving women who are going through seasons of their life that I have experienced, and being able to shed a little bit of light and just being able to witness them has been my greatest joy so far as being in service to women.
That's beautiful. And
Thanks.
it's beautiful how, these things kind of change and grow and evolve. Like I started as a doula, and it's already kind of evolving into something a little bit different. So it's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful to see it unfold, feel it unfold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we jump right into more of our kind of topic or discussion for today, this is the question that I ask everybody. Can you share one word or phrase to describe your current phase or season of motherhood?
Yeah. I think if it's one word, it's slowness.
Perfect.
And then we can expand for as long as you want, forever in this topic. Yeah, embracing slowness and practicing slowness and feeling like it just allows you to feel everything, the good, the bad, the hard. But really, I think the biggest thing I've learned from becoming a mother is really truly who I am. And so practicing embracing that, because it's hard. It's freeing, but it's a struggle at times too. So being able to slow down, show myself grace, listen to my intuition, all of these things, like playing too, like being able to play with my daughter, everything that I get to experience more fully when I slow down and really pay attention and just have a little more awareness to everything.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And where did this idea of slowness come from? Like, how did this start for you? Or is this something that's always been kind of natural to you, like slowing down and really taking in what's happening?
100% not natural. I think when I think about slowness, I actually like really just tune into my root chakra. It's like this place of survival and maybe a place of not feeling safe, or having those basic needs met and I mean, we live in a society where you're just like praised for going and like, reach your goals and work hard and go, go, go and don't stop and sacrifice anything just to get there. And so that kind of like those mantras and those feelings have just been built into me for almost my whole life. I watched my parents work, 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 and it's like, yes, I am very blessed and I know that my basic needs are always going to be met, but um, not ever really having the luxury to just slow down and trust a process. Like it always felt like you just had to grind for everything or for anything to deserve. So going back to that like root chakra and that like really, really, really believing that you're safe, believing that um, you don't have to exist in this like survival fight or flight mode, and being able to feel into your body and believe that takes practice. So that's kind of been like my practice over the last few years, especially after having a baby and then still feeling like you have to like recover and get back to and this and that, like recognizing that that does not serve me, that does not serve my family. that is not the way that I want to live my life. So it's definitely been a practice. And one of the biggest things that I've been able to like be curious about and slowly dive into is spirituality. Um, and that's kind of like my that's been my catalyst to like again the curiosity of like, oh, maybe I can lean into something else, maybe I can take time here, maybe I can offer myself grace, maybe there's another way of
Mhm.
existing. And it's been hard at times because it involves, like seeing everything and your shadow work and experiencing the feelings that are uncomfortable, and bringing all of that to light and then deciding like what you're going to do with it. So that's kind of where I've been the past few years. And also where I hope to help guide women just to provide a space for them to feel safe to do this.
What kind of what kind of changes have you made? Because like we're mothering in a culture that, like you said, it's all about go, 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 hustle, hustle. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, there's still this like
Mm-hmm.
pressure to be doing all the time to, you know, even because of social media, it's like, oh, you have to be baking bread and while also have a beautiful sensory play kit ready for your kid. And you need to, you know what I mean? There's these
Mm-hmm.
weird kind of almost expectations. So
Mm-hmm.
what kind of changes have you made or practices have supported you in this while also like living in our current culture?
Yeah. Yeah. Self-care has been huge. And it's also needed a shift in perspective on my part of being like, changing it from being like, all right, put it on the list, self-care, done,
Yeah.
to actually like coming back to slowing down and saying like, oh, I'm going to brush my hair slower. you know, I brush my hair like
Yeah.
once a week. Um, but I'm gonna do it slowly. And like little, really simple, small things, like building awareness around all of it and how it does serve me. So self-care has been huge. Taking a shower, right? Like those are basic needs. But when you're going to do that, turn it into self-care, like yes, you everyone deserves that. And that's one of the things of like motherhood of like, oh, self-care is taking a shower. Like, no, that's your basic need. But you can
Hmm.
also build it into a routine of self-care. And
Hmm.
and yeah, even so a bigger part of how I started to take more time for myself was, well, I invested in a container of self-pleasure, basically, like guided
Mm.
self-pleasure. And I had a lot of pain with intercourse after having the baby. And I knew it was like from a lot of trauma. I don't know how I knew, and I didn't even know what the trauma was, but I like could feel it inside. So
Mm.
I knew I didn't want to outsource for that. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go in and literally. So like just taking that time and like making time for it, whether it was 15 minutes and I was like, hey, babe, you got to take the little one and bring her outside and don't come inside for 10 minutes. I don't care. Or what it is, whatever it is, like lock my door, you know? Um, and just make the time, even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes. And yeah, I found that it wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to go masturbate. It was like learning what what I felt like inside and what that started to cultivate for me as a woman. And that was like so simply just self-love. It like awoke something inside of me, this wild feminine, if you want to call it, of like, I have everything I need inside of me. And especially when I like helped or I basically like cured my pain and it just needed to be like nurtured and loved and cared for. Um,
Mm.
and so that was kind of the start of it. So knowing that I can commit even a few moments to myself and like having an idea of what I need. Like I needed to do something about the pain I was having. Right. So I just went there and yeah, took a few minutes a day. But yeah, once I did, it just like started becoming routine and part of your life rather than like having to make time. It was just what you did. And then you can start making time for something else. Right. So it's like making these habits, turning them into your lifestyle, turning them into the norm, and then being able to go deeper or go somewhere else or add something else.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, what I hear is a lot of like committing committing to prioritizing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that can be so hard though. Like it can be so hard to, first of all, even know what it is that you need to
Mm-hmm.
begin with, and then to actually like voice those needs to a partner, to whoever. I feel like a lot of the time women end up, and maybe I shouldn't be generalizing, I'm more talking about myself. I end up like automatically feeling like guilty for
Mm-hmm.
even asking for a shower. And even
Mm-hmm.
saying like asking for a shower, that's ridiculous. Like, no,
Mm-hmm.
for me, that's one kind of shift in language that I've used trying to heal this is, I'm not asking to go have a shower. I'm saying I'm going to have a shower now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need your support in this and watch our child so I can go do that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's those little shifts, like you said. But yeah, it can be so hard to actually prioritize yourself. So, what do you say to women that are having this like hard time and even figuring out what those needs are and then asking for that time without the guilt that can sometimes go along with it?
Yeah. One thing I truly believe is we'll make time for things that are important. Um, we'll also make time for things that numb hard things, right? So one thing that always pops into my mind that I actually heard from one of my mentors is she said, if you have time to scroll, you have time for yourself. If you have time to scroll, you have time to create. If you have time to scroll, you have time for anything. So it's being aware of how you're using your time. And I'm not saying like scrolling on Instagram is bad. I'm not. I'm saying that like it can be a choice. And if you're choosing to do it to like get away from it all and you need that moment, do it. But also if you're just like, there's got to be your little intuition, your little person in your head or in your body that's maybe she's coming to you through feelings of guilt, but also maybe it's just like, hey, listen to me. I know you want to. I know you want to. So like tending to
Mhm.
her and saying yes to her can reframe that like that aspect of guilt of like
Mhm.
there's someone inside of me and maybe it makes sense to talk to that person inside of you like she's your daughter or like she's your son, like she's your child. Like if that little kid's like, hey, I need something. You're not just going to be like, no, I feel guilty. I can't. You're going to be like, oh, what do you need? Oh, you want 5 minutes? Okay, let's go do that. And you can put your
Mhm.
phone down and you can go do whatever for 5 minutes.
Mhm.
So I think building awareness around what you need and then really truly believing that tending to your needs will in turn make your life better in all aspects. It's going to nurture you and then you have more to nurture your family, which is what we do as mothers.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like a muscle that you have to kind of use and work, and it becomes easier as you get used to doing this. Like, yeah, like flexing a
Mm-hmm.
muscle kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we talk about intuition a little bit? Um, I think also a super hard concept for some people. Like, what does that
Mm-hmm.
even mean? I don't think I have an intuition. Like, I don't know. So, how do we start to be able to hear or feel our intuition to
Yeah.
begin with?
Yeah. If you've never felt your intuition or you just have no idea what that even is, the first step would be to acknowledge that you do have one. everyone has one. And whether you're following it or not, or connected to it or whatever, just acknowledging that it's there. And then you can literally make it as simple as asking your intuition what to do. So something comes to you, you need to make a decision. You literally, in your head or out loud, hey, intuition, what should we do? And then just the first thing that pops into your head, see if you can go with that, right? Maybe don't do this if you're like buying a house or something, but like, we make a million decisions all day. So just start to ask your intuition, what should I do? Go with it, see how it feels in your body. So this is just creating awareness inside your body while making decisions, and so you can do this too with that little voice in your head that's like telling you one thing, or like pushing you towards one decision, one way to make a decision. Take that information. If you really want to analyze it, you can, or you can just trust and make the leap. Again, maybe not like buying a house or a car or something, but like smaller decisions. Take that leap, see how it feels, and go with it, or ask more questions. Having that inner dialogue is sounds like crazy person talk sometimes, but I think it's really important, especially if that inner dialogue is like not very nice. You can ask what it needs. And yeah, so just to recap, acknowledging that you have an intuition, starting to build a dialogue, and seeing if the decisions you're making when you are getting feedback from that dialogue are serving you and your highest good. Your intuition is never going to lead you down the wrong path. If you start to listen to something that is leading you down the wrong path, or you're learning lessons from that path, then you can look back and say, like, well, where was I coming from? Was I like trying to speed it up? Was I going against something? Was I acting out of fear? So these are all just things that we practice daily, and that's how we can really start to build a connection with our intuition.
Yeah, I love that. And I think there's a big difference between intuition and fear. And when we start to pay attention to how each of those feels in the body, you start to realize that they actually feel very different. So if I'm trying to make a big decision, I know it's my intuition when it feels very calm in my body personally. If I'm deciding that, yes, I'm going to make this big decision, then that yes feels very calm. But if there's fear wrapped up in it, then I know it's got much more of like a buzzy energy. There's more of that like brain chatter behind it. Like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. Oh, it's so much money, or whatever the dialogue is. So I think, yeah, getting comfortable with the, like you said, the sensations in the body that go along with listening to your intuition. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my intuition too can give me yes, and it still has nerves or like butterflies.
Yeah.
But again, when I like ask, is this serving me? Is this really what I want? Then I can kind of like dig down even deeper and be like, oh yeah, these are pushing me to my edge, but I can handle it kind of feeling, rather than like, oh, I feel like fight or flight survival mode again. And that is like a tightness down deep. It's like, no.
You posted something recently about saying no, and I wonder if we can talk a little bit about that and how that kind of ties in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, as mothers, we love to nurture, right? And we would love to give, and we're really good at giving. And it all comes back to self-care too, and self-love, and setting boundaries. So practicing saying no when you know that that's the right answer for you. It can be really hard, especially if it's like someone who always asks something of you and you always show up for them. It's like, but after you show up for them, you feel depleted. You feel like, oh, I should have been doing something else, or this or that. So it's practicing saying no. And if you want to give a reason why, then you can. And the reasons that I posted were kind of funny. It's like, no, it wasn't an FES body, or ask me again in my follicular phase, where you're like, more outgoing and whatever. But yeah, it's the practice for me is really just like saying no and not needing to give an answer. And that really is hard because it goes against all like of the good girl programming and say yes and do this for them and be liked. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't do this and you're not liked, then you're going to be alone. And all of these like deep seated beliefs that maybe I don't even feel like believe, but they've just been like a part of me um, for so long. So yeah, practicing just like no as a full sentence,
Mm-hmm.
because it is,
Yeah.
has been hard, but so freeing, and another part of that is worrying that what if you lose friends? What if people, stop asking you things now, because they just think you're going to say no. It's like, well, maybe those aren't true friends in the first place, so
Mm-hmm.
these are really hard things because that's your comfort. That's what you've known. So yeah, saying no can get very deep, and it can be really scary, and it's very understandable. So just like getting to know your intuition, like practicing small. And again, it's not just being like throwing out no's left and right. It's like really when you feel like it's the right answer for the question that was given to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. And like this whole idea of slowing down in motherhood, yeah, means that you do have to say no to certain things. You need to not go over the capacity that you have. And I think it's
Hmm.
all about shifting your whole perspective on what that capacity even is. Whereas before it was like, yes, I can do 16 things in a day and it's all fine and go, go, go. And now if we're really focusing on slowing down and being present in each moment, like, no, I don't have the same capacity to, go out to 3 play dates in a day and, meet up with a friend for coffee after. It might be like one thing in a day that I'd like to plan to do,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Have you, so, when we talk about kind of slowing down in motherhood, the thing that comes to mind to me is all about like cyclical living and matching, my menstrual cycle.
Yeah, definitely everything about slowing down relates to my menstrual cycle because, well, first of all, I didn't really understood my menstrual cycle, but I didn't embody it or embrace it for a very long time. Um, and then when I started to pay attention to it, because my intuition was like, "Hey, this is important," I naturally just started to say, all right, I should do this at this time and I should do this at this time. And I tried to make it a structured thing.
Mm,
And that was like paying attention, quote unquote, to my cycle. And then it didn't do anything for me. It was just kind of like another check the box, right? So it wasn't until actually my mentorship, I really dove deep into this, excuse me, in a meditation. And my womb was like, listen, like you need to pay attention, and slowing down during your menstrual or like during your bleed doesn't mean just like check off a box and not work out that day. It means like really building in time to take care of yourself and do what your body needs. So figuring out what your body needs by finding some quiet time. If I'm feeling extra tired, take that nap, And it's easy to say take a nap, right? But
mhm.
it's like coaxing my daughter into taking a nap or actually taking a nap with her, which usually I would use that time to work, or
Mhm.
or do something that I don't get to do when she's awake. And then really, really, really just surrendering to the feelings and the emotions and kind of recognizing where I'm at in the cycle, when those emotions come up. And then really for me, it wasn't to like analyze it so much, because I love to analyze and I love answers and I love reasoning and all of the stuff that's like in my brain. And so it was really more about like just surrendering to the emotions that are coming up and just recognizing where I'm at. And I also like learned a really awesome lesson, because I was like, okay, in your follicular stage, you're so creative and you're open, you're doing all these things. And I had a month like that. And I like, oh my gosh, it was my most creative I've ever been in my life. And then the next month I was like, here we go, follicular stage. And it was like, it wasn't there. And I was like, wow, expectations, let's let those go. So for me, yeah, slowing down in my cycle doesn't just pertain to rest in my during my bleed. It really pertains to just tuning into my emotions and my feelings and how my body feels and what it wants, and then responding at how I want to. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. How you said, it's kind of like you're checking off a box, like, okay, I'm in my menstrual phase. I need to rest. Okay, tick. And I'm in my ovulation phase. I'm creative. Tick. Like it does, it can kind of feel like that. And like you said, you start to create these expectations about this when really it's about, yeah, like you said, surrendering to the cycle. So the natural shifts in energy, and they're not going to look the same every month. And they're not going to look the same for every person either.
Right.
Yeah. Now I know that you're, building a business too. I wonder, how has this idea of slowing down kind of affected how you're building a business? Because I know for me, that's like the biggest thing for me is I'm trying to build a business that matches my cycles and my energy shifts, but while also trying to, follow some sort of business strategy. So like, how are you kind of reconciling those two things in your own life?
Yeah. I think a big thing for me was understanding feminine and masculine energies, and recognizing that I am so creative when I'm in my feminine energy. And also that pairs up a lot with my follicular stage. But as far as like a weekly structure, so structure is very masculine. I was able to, with my partner, we found a day, we found a babysitter, and we have 4 hours every Monday. And that is the structure, right? And I get to use that 4 hours for my business. What I do in those 4 hours is going to fluctuate throughout the month, where I'm at, what needs to be done, what quote unquote should be done, right? My favorite quote with should is stop shoulding on yourself. It's just because, again, it brings that aspect of expectation in. But so knowing that I had those 4 hours every week was so huge for me. It was like this weight that I didn't know that was like on my shoulders. And it was the weight that was always in the back of my head of like, during my daughter's nap, like, okay, you have an hour and a half, you better. So it was like all these things that were like building up, that I was like feeling like I had this timeline that I had to follow, or not knowing. This simple like act of having 4 hours every Monday was really, really big for my business. And I've actually found that because I feel more free and more secure that I have this little structure, I have been able to actually use that 4 hours. Like, we'll like make love, or we'll like, work, or we'll schedule things, or we'll like go to a coffee shop. And I'm like, whoa, this is so different than what I thought these 4 hours were going to be, So knowing too that everything that happens in those hours is going to help my business in so many different ways is just like, it was huge. So highly recommended to structure in time for your business, but not structure like what you have to do in that time. Of course, it's going to be different. Like if you have a podcast and you do have like, hey, I have to launch this on this day, maybe those hours are going to look a little more structured. But But me right now, I'm just in the building phase. Just a moment, please, Boo. I'll be right with you. Okay. So yeah, I have something coming up that I'm launching, and I did spend one chunk of 4 hours that I was literally like doing all the back end stuff, like making sure all my buttons clicked and this and that and this and that. But knowing also that I could do that in those 4 hours has like it's just opened another door for me creatively. So I'll have like I just get so many downloads, and I have a place that I can like type them in really quick and send it, and it like goes to this place where I write all of my captions for my Instagram. So I have been able to create these little structures that serve me, so that when I do have these downloads and these pings and these like musings, that I have a place to store them and to put them down really quick. And then I know I can come back to them too. Mm-hmm. Ideally in my luteal phase, when I'm like really, getting into, yeah, just getting closer to that veil where I can reflect and refine.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. It's really like such a beautiful balance, like you said, of, having a little bit of structure, but leaving room for that to do whatever you want with that structure. And that's kind of how I've set up my, quote unquote work days as well. Each week I kind of decide on my husband's days off, like, okay, on this day, I need, a block of time here. On this day, a block of time here. And then I don't really fully decide what I'm doing with that time. I just kind of see what I need to get done and yeah, do what feels good that day. And yeah, even with this podcast, for example, it's on a bi-weekly release schedule because for me, that feels way more easeful and it doesn't feel like such a hustle to try to get an episode out every single week with where I'm at right now with my 2-year-old and, the amount of literal time that I have to work on it. So yeah, it's like you're in charge when you're building a business. You get to decide how you want to build it. And yeah, it's like, well, why do I have to do this every week? I don't.
Yeah,
I get to
you
make the
don't.
rules.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's like untangling from these beliefs about business and what it means or looks like to be an entrepreneur or a business owner, right? And kind of, yeah, unlearning all of that and then creating exactly what you want instead, which is so freeing and exciting, really. But yeah. I would love to hear more about your group container that's coming up. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So what I want to create and reorient is a place to recognize that we are no longer the woman that we were before we had children, and a space that feels safe to dive into the woman that you want to be. So a lot of what we're doing in there is, it's like spirituality, but simplified, self-care, simplified, self-love, and then a sisterhood and a connection and a community there. I think those are some pillars that are so important when you are in this transition from maid into mother, or yeah, just really relearning like who we want to be and what our values are, and connecting to that and really building that into our day to day, so that we can just live a more peaceful and graceful life full of joy and pleasure. It's our birthright. So when I recognized that I wasn't doing that, I was like, man, what would I love? And this is the community that I would love to be a part of. So it's 6 weeks long. A huge part of it is the community. So we'll be circling weekly. We'll also have weekly guided meditations with journal prompts. And then after that, if the circle brings those up, awesome. But also if wherever you're at during that share is the most important, just to come as you are and wherever you're at. So a huge part of how I have journeyed on to where I'm at right now is being a part of women's circles. So I go to one, I host my own, and those have been like monumental as far as self-love and self-acceptance, and just knowing that you're not alone in this. Yeah. And just being witnessed in all of it just makes it so much more real than trying to do all of this on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it can so easily feel like you are doing it all on your own. And like, you start to feel like you're the only one that this is happening to.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, this matrescence, this experience, it is universal. We all experience it a little bit differently and individually, but yeah, it is universal. So yeah, that sounds like a beautiful intentional offer, and I'm excited to hear all about how it goes.
Thank
So,
you.
where can we connect with you?
Yeah, my website is theintuitiveco.com. And then my Instagram handle is also theintuitiveco_.
In the spirit of practicing slowness in my own life, I have a little announcement to make about the podcast. I will be taking a much needed break to visit family and friends across the country. Rest is so important, especially for my own creativity. And I'm really leaning into this idea that yes, there's strategy and consistency, but also I get to create the life I want. I get to redefine success for myself and work in a way that is nourishing to my energy, my body, my family. We get to create the lives we want. So this trip, I will be focusing on slowing down myself so I can be present and be truly nourished by the connection with my loved ones and friends that I don't get to see very often, sharing my daughter with them, giving her brand new experiences, and just enjoying the summer weather all together. No work, no distractions. I can't wait. So there will be no new episode in 2 weeks' time. Instead, I'm skipping that week, so a new episode will drop in 4 weeks' time. And it's a great one. So many beautiful insights to share. So I hope you'll maybe go back and re-listen to your favorite episode or share your favorite episode with a friend who you think might need it. And definitely stay connected with me on Instagram at nestandnourish_. I might share a teeny tiny bit from the trip if it feels right in the moment. But like I said, I am taking a break and resting and focusing on being truly present with my family. But I'm sure I'll share a little bit of something here and there. But I'll be back July 27th with another great conversation. So as always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.